Angel Reese raising her speaking fee to match Caitlin Clark's might have seemed like a power move, but instead, it exposed just how off-track her branding has become. Reese has always embraced attention, but in trying to mirror Clark's business success, she revealed a deeper insecurity. While Clark earns six figures for her speeches because of a proven reputation built on professionalism, leadership, and results.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Reese has leaned into theatrics and surface-level appeal. It's not just that she's not there yet. It's that she doesn't seem to understand what there even looks like. This isn't a rivalry. It's a case study in contrast. One athlete is reshaping women's sports by becoming a symbol of independence and strategic vision. The other is trying to keep up by inflating numbers and doubling down on flash. Clark's rise isn't just a threat to the WNBA's status quo. It's a mirror reflecting who's truly ready to lead in this new era, and Reese's reaction is making it painfully clear that she's not. Caitlin Clark just flipped the script on the entire WNBA, and Angel Reese is not handling it well. One moment, Clark is wrapping up her rookie season. The next, she's walking in a Fortune 500 events, getting paid $100,000 to speak. That's not an exaggeration. That's not a PR stunt. That's reality. While most rookies are catching their breath after their first season, Clark is already stacking checks that surpass what she makes in the league. And here's the kicker. Those checks aren't coming from basketball. They're coming from her name, her brand, her ability to walk into a room full of executives and instantly become the most valuable person there. That kind of power doesn't happen by accident. Clark has been strategic from a jump. While others focused on flash, she focused on foundation. She wasn't just trying to be a great player, she was building a business. And now, she's cashing in. Not because she asked to be paid like a star, but because she became one. And Angel Reese? She saw those headlines and immediately tried to match Clark's speaking fee. She didn't say she was inspired. She didn't say she was learning from it. She just jacked up her price tag like it was a competition. The problem is, it's not a competition. It's a market. And in that market, value talks. Clark has value. Reese has vibes. There's a difference. Clark doesn't need to announce what she's worth. She proves it every time she speaks, every time a company signs a deal, every time an arena fills up just to watch her play. She's got brands begging to work with her. She doesn't have to chase the money. It comes to her. Because she's proven she can deliver results. Audience? Guaranteed. Sales? Proven. Professionalism? Impeccable. Meanwhile, Reese is still relying on the drama. She's still stuck in a cycle of clout chasing, turning every moment into a headline, hoping that by staying loud, she'll stay relevant. But being loud isn't the same as being valuable. And no matter how many Instagram followers you have, corporations care about one thing: return on investment. Clark is ROI. Reese is noise. That's the cold truth. And it's not just about one speaking fee. This is bigger than that. Clark is reshaping the landscape of women's sports. She's showing that athletes, especially women, don't need to be boxed in by their league's limitations. She's proving that with the right branding, professionalism, and vision, you can outgrow the very system that's supposed to elevate you. The WNBA? It's still playing catch-up. Labor disputes, poor marketing, internal dysfunction. It's all still there. But Clark is doing what the league hasn't been able to do in years. Make people care. About the games. About the players. About women's basketball. She's drawing attention that isn't tied to scandal or controversy. It's tied to excellence. And Reese can't stand it. Because while Clark's brand is built on substance, Reese's is still built on spectacle. Her priorities? Style over strategy. Optics over outcomes. That might have worked in college, but in the pros? It falls flat. Especially when you're standing next to someone who's making real moves. Raising your speaking fee to match Clark's doesn't make you equal. It makes you look insecure. Clark didn't set her price out of ego. She set it because companies are willing to pay it. She earned it through consistency, performance, and smart positioning. Reese tried to skip the work and grab the reward. But that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And the difference is obvious to everyone watching. Clark is getting invited to speak at leadership summits and investor conferences. She's aligning with brands that want more than just a famous face. They want someone who can lead. Her business deals aren't about quick money. They're about long-term value. She's setting herself up to last in this industry, long after she stops playing. Reese, on the other hand, is still playing short-term games, chasing headlines, riding off college-era hype, trying to stay in the conversation by copying Clark's moves, but not understanding the strategy behind them. And it shows. The league is already shifting around Clark. She's not just a player anymore. She's the brand. Ratings spike when she's on the floor. Sponsorships increase when she's mentioned. The WNBA is starting to realize that it doesn't hold the power anymore. The players do, or at least the ones who know how to use it. Clark is independent. She doesn't need the WNBA to succeed. If she walked away tomorrow, her empire would still stand. That's what's so threatening to the system, and to players like Reese, who haven't figured out how to build anything beyond the court. Clark is a blueprint. Reese is still improvising, and the resentment is bleeding through. There's no real camaraderie in this. Just competition. Just tension. Reese isn't clapping for Clark's success. She's trying to copy and paste it. But copycats never win in business. Clark is living proof of what happens when you create something authentic, something sustainable, something yours. The WNBA has to decide what it wants to be, because right now, the league's biggest asset is a player who doesn't actually need them. And the longer they drag their feet trying to treat all stars as equal, the more obvious it becomes that some of them are simply built different. Clark is built different. And Reese? She's still pretending to be. This isn't a rivalry anymore. It's a case study. Clark is what happens when talent meets vision. Reese is what happens when image tries to catch up with reality. So while one is negotiating six-figure keynote deals and building a global brand, the other is chasing the spotlight, hoping the same money will come just because she asked for it. But the market doesn't care what you ask for. It cares what you bring. And right now, Caitlin Clark is bringing everything: professionalism, poise, strategy, value, and leadership. She's not just changing the way people see women's basketball. She's changing what it means to be an athlete in the modern era. She's setting the tone. She's leading the shift. And she's doing it without asking for permission. Meanwhile, Angel Reese is left reacting, copying, chasing, still trying to turn attention into power without realizing that power is earned. If you're watching this play out and thinking, wow, Caitlin Clark really did that, you're absolutely right. And if you're wondering whether Angel Reese will ever catch up, well, the clock's ticking. Like, share, and subscribe if you're keeping your eye on this unfolding saga. And let us know in the comments, who's really leading the future of women's sports? Because from where we're standing, it's not even close. Caitlin Clark didn't just set a new bar. She launched it into the stratosphere. And everyone, including Angel Reese, is scrambling to catch up. Let's be real. When news broke that Clark was commanding $100,000 just to speak at corporate events, it sent a shockwave through the women's basketball world. Not because she doesn't deserve it, because she absolutely does, but because it exposed the massive gap between those who are actually moving the culture forward and those who are just riding its coattails. Caitlin Clark isn't playing by the WNBA's rulebook anymore. She's writing her own. While the league continues to struggle with outdated marketing strategies, internal disputes, and a lack of mainstream media presence, Clark is thriving in spite of it all. She's creating her own ecosystem, one built on brand deals, keynote speeches, and an image that transcends the game itself. And Angel Reese? She's watching all of this from the sidelines with a fake smile and a pricing strategy that screams, if she can, I can too. But here's where the disconnect becomes impossible to ignore. Clark didn't demand respect. She earned it. She didn't just show up one day and declare herself a global brand. She built that reputation over time. She aligned herself with powerful partners. She delivered every time she stepped onto a stage, whether it was a court or a conference. And most importantly, she remained professional, focused, strategic. Reese, in contrast, is performing. She's creating moments that trend online but don't translate to long-term value. There's a difference between being viral and being viable, And right now, Reese is leaning a little too hard on the former. Her decision to raise her speaking fee to match Clark's was not bold. It was embarrassing, because there's no demand to justify it. She's trying to price herself based on someone else's success, not her own. That's not ambition, that's delusion. Caitlin Clark is showing athletes how to monetize their impact, not just their name. She's a walking masterclass in strategic branding, and Reese is acting like it's a popularity contest. Spoiler, it's not. Clark's reach goes beyond basketball fans. She speaks to executives, parents, kids, global audiences. She's not just an athlete, she's a leader. Her off-court presence carries as much weight as her game. That's why companies are willing to cut those checks. Because when Clark shows up, she elevates the room. Reese might be elevating her wardrobe, but that's not getting her keynote invites. Let's not pretend this is just about jealousy. It's about relevance. Reese knows Clark is dominating headlines, deals, and influence. And instead of building her own path, she's trying to replicate Clark's without understanding the strategy behind it. And while Reese continues to lean on Instagram aesthetics and recycled college-era hype, Clark is moving with calculated precision. Her brand doesn't rely on drama or rivalries. It relies on results. The league itself is becoming more of a backdrop than a focal point. And that's exactly the kind of disruption that's terrifying for the old guard. Because Caitlin Clark has proven she doesn't need the league to validate her worth. The league needs her. That shift in power is monumental. She's not just changing women's basketball. She's changing the entire business of women's sports. Clark has cracked the code. And the scariest part for the league, and for players like Reese, she's just getting started. Let's look at how it's playing out in real time. When Clark speaks at an event, she doesn't show up as WNBA player Caitlin Clark. She shows up as Caitlin Clark, the brand. The room isn't reacting to her stats. They're reacting to her influence. Her presence alone drives media coverage. Her words get quoted. Her image gets shared. It's a ripple effect most athletes only dream of. And this isn't a fluke. This is the result of intentional positioning. Clark's brand is rooted in authenticity, discipline, and forward-thinking moves. She's mastered the art of being taken seriously without screaming for attention. That's why CEOs want her. That's why parents look up to her. That's why sponsors trust her. Reese, on the other hand, is still confusing shock value with market value. And the gap between them is only widening. Clark's influence is global. International audiences recognize her face. Media outlets across the world are following her moves. She's reshaping how women's sports are marketed and consumed on a global scale. Meanwhile, Reese is still stuck playing the social media game, hoping that outfit photos and cryptic tweets will buy her the same credibility. But here's the thing. Credibility isn't earned through aesthetics. It's earned through consistency, leadership, and substance. Clark is all three. Reese has attitude. The WNBA's future is being rewritten in real time. And Caitlin Clark is holding the pen. She's not waiting for the league to figure itself out. She's already moved past that. The only question now is whether the league can keep up with her. Because if she ever decided to walk away, the WNBA would be left in a full-blown crisis. She brings in the ratings. She attracts the sponsors. She fills the seats. She is the story. And that reality doesn't sit well with certain players, especially the ones who were supposed to be the face of the league. Reese had her moment. She had the attention, but she didn't know what to do with it. She didn't evolve. She didn't elevate. She got comfortable in the chaos. Clark, meanwhile, turned her moment into a movement. And if the contrast between them wasn't obvious before, it's crystal clear now. While Clark is sitting on panels, giving insight into leadership and entrepreneurship, Reese is sitting on Instagram Live trying to justify her latest clapback. While Clark is signing multi-million-dollar deals with major brands, Reese is reposting fan edits and pretending the two are on equal footing. They're not, because success isn't just about being known, it's about being respected. And respect isn't given to the loudest voice in the room. It's given to the one who doesn't need to speak to prove their value. That's why Clark is commanding six-figure speaking fees without even flinching. She doesn't have to beg for opportunities. She creates them. And when she walks into a room, people don't see a player. they see a powerhouse. Meanwhile, Reese is still talking about what she deserves, while Clark is out here earning it. And that's the most hilarious part of all of this. The irony. The fact that while Reese is reacting, matching, mimicking, Clark is too busy working to even notice. She doesn't engage. She doesn't entertain the noise. She stays focused on her lane because she knows she's ahead. So when Reese tries to match Clark's fee, it's not empowering, it's performative. It's not strategy, it's ego. And it doesn't land. It exposes the cracks, the insecurity, the desperation. Because at the end of the day, no amount of posturing can make up for the fact that Caitlin Clark is operating on an entirely different level. She's not just winning the game, she's redefining it. If you've been watching this saga unfold, you know the dynamic has shifted. Caitlin Clark is no longer just a rising star. She is the sun, and everything else is orbiting around her. So if you're still holding on to the idea that Angel Reese is anywhere near that level, it's time to let that fantasy go. Because the scoreboard is visible, and it's not even close. Clark is building a legacy. Reese is still building a persona. One will last, one won't. Let's talk about legacy, because that's what this is really about. Caitlin Clark isn't just stacking brand deals and racking up speaking fees for the flex. She's building something permanent, a name that will still carry weight 10 years from now, with or without a basketball in her hand. She's not just a star in the league. She's an institution in the making. And that's what Angel Reese can't seem to grasp. Reese is chasing visibility, while Clark is locking down viability. There's a difference. Visibility fades. Viability pays. The moment Reese tried to match Clark's $100,000 speaking fee, the conversation shifted, and not in her favor. Because the question wasn't, can she get it? It was, who's actually asking for her? That's what makes the move so awkward. Clark didn't make an announcement. She didn't post some dramatic tweet. The news of her speaking fee got out because she was already getting it. Quietly, strategically. She was already being booked, already delivering, already providing value to Fortune 500 companies and leadership events where her presence mattered. Reese, on the other hand, saw Clark's rate and tried to play catch-up, not by building her own path, but by mimicking Clark's results. But the thing about copying is, it only works when the foundation matches. And Reese's foundation isn't there. Clark's success off the court is not some stroke of luck. It's not hype. It's execution. She's been meticulous about her brand from day one. She understood early on that if she wanted long-term success, she'd need more than just a strong jump shot. She needed a vision. And now that vision is paying off, literally. And that's what Reese seems to be missing. This isn't about basketball anymore. It's about business. And in the business world, perception is everything. Caitlin Clark is perceived as professional, articulate, smart, strategic. She can walk into a corporate boardroom and be taken seriously. She can sit on a panel next to CEOs and not feel out of place. That's the kind of presence companies are willing to pay for. Reese, she's still stuck in influencer mode. Still banking on controversy to keep her name hot. Still thinking engagement equals influence. But here's the harsh truth. Brands aren't paying for someone who's loud. They're paying for someone who's lasting. They want ambassadors, not attention seekers. Clark has positioned herself as someone who adds value wherever she goes. Reese is still trying to prove she belongs in the conversation. And every time she reacts to Clark's success instead of building her own lane, she just confirms the gap between them. The jealousy isn't subtle anymore. It's transparent. It's reactive. It's uncomfortable. Reese wants to be seen as the equal, the rival, the co-star in this so-called drama. But this isn't a rivalry. It's a runaway. Clark isn't looking back. She's not worried about Reese. She's not in petty social media battles. She's not posting cryptic captions. She's not trying to match anybody. She's building her own empire. And the numbers don't lie. Clark is already generating millions in brand value, drawing international media coverage, and redefining what it means to be a modern athlete. The WNBA has never had someone like her, someone who not only brings talent, but transforms the league's visibility. That's why the WNBA is already shifting around her. She's the centerpiece, the moneymaker, the headline, the future. and the league knows it. When Caitlin Clark plays, the cameras follow. The fans show up. The ratings climb. She's not just playing the game. She's moving the needle. Meanwhile, Angel Reese is still trying to keep up with Instagram narratives. There's a real lesson in all this, but Reese doesn't seem interested in learning it. Clark's dominance isn't just athletic, it's entrepreneurial. She's showing young athletes, especially women, that they don't have to wait for a league or a team or a coach to define their worth. They can build it themselves. They can own their image, control their messaging, and negotiate their value. She's teaching a masterclass in how to take control of your career, and Reese is skipping it. Instead of recognizing what Clark has done right, Reese keeps playing the comparison game, keeps pretending this is some kind of media-manufactured rivalry. But the truth is, you can't have a rivalry when only one side is winning on every front. Reese had her moment, but she wasted it trying to stir the pot instead of building the brand. She leaned into the chaos. Clark leaned into the strategy. And now the gap isn't just widening, it's getting impossible to ignore. Let's be honest, Clark doesn't need the WNBA anymore. The league needs her. If she walked away today, her brand wouldn't collapse. It would expand. She could go full-time keynote speaker, media personality, entrepreneur, and still be more successful than most WNBA vets. That's not normal. That's not typical. That's power. And that's why this whole saga is bigger than Reese's reaction. This is about what the future of women's sports looks like. It's about how athletes are no longer just players. They're businesses. They're brands. They're independent platforms that can operate beyond the traditional structures. Clark gets it. Reese doesn't. Clark's success doesn't diminish anyone else. But the way Reese has responded, that does. It exposes her insecurities. It shows she's more concerned with staying in the spotlight than doing the work to earn it. And frankly, it's starting to wear thin. Clark doesn't need to clap back. She doesn't need to throw shade. Her work speaks loud enough. Her results are clear. Her trajectory is untouchable. So while Reese is scrambling to match numbers, Clark is out here breaking systems. And that's the real story. Because when you strip away the headlines, the tweets, the carefully curated Instagram grids, only one of them is actually changing the game. Only one of them is becoming a global force. Only one of them is showing young athletes what's really possible. And that person is not Angel Reese. If you're watching this unfold and wondering if Caitlin Clark has already outgrown the WNBA, you're not alone. She's operating on a different frequency. The league is lucky to have her. The rest? They're just trying to keep up. Make sure to like the video, subscribe for more breakdowns, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Has Caitlin Clark already left everyone, including Angel Reese, in the dust? Or is there still time for Reese to catch up? We know where we stand.